What is the role of a Scrum Master in a SAFe environment and in a normal Scrum environment? And what is the difference between SAFe and Scrum? Hello, happy Sunday, and welcome to the SAFe chat room with Dr. Francis Mbunya, where we keep it real. Today, we want to talk about SAFe Scrum Master and a Scrum Master. And which one should you really go in for? This is a question a lot of people have been asking, and I think it's something very important for us to understand the basics. Many people know about Scrum, but a lot of people still don't yet know what is the difference between a SAFe Scrum Master and a Scrum Master. And if you have been job hunting already, you must have come across some of the job description where they strictly kind of say that we're looking for a SAFe Scrum Master, or a Scrum Master that can work in a SAFe environment. What exactly does that mean, and how can you as a Scrum Master take a step ahead to become a SAFe certified Scrum Master? And you're welcome to this channel. If this is your first time, hit the subscribe button. We keep it real here. We make sure that we're giving you just what you need in order to advance your Scrum Master career and in order to get that job in less than no time. And that is why we always come with what you are asking for and what is going to benefit you. All right, I'm going to start with a Scrum Master. Who is a Scrum Master? Let's keep it simple here, guys. I know you've read the Scrum Guide. I know you know about sprint planning, daily stand-up or daily Scrum, sprint review, sprint retrospective, backlog refinement or backlog grooming, whatsoever terms you kind of used to. But then what exactly is the role of a Scrum Master, and what type of environment can a Scrum Master work with? All right. Now, the Scrum Master is a role that kind of was introduced when Agile came up. The Agile concept, the Agile way of building and delivering a product. Now, Scrum is widely used in the software development field, right? Which means it's highly applicable in building software. But notwithstanding, it's also gaining application in the operation field. So it's not only about software development, it's also, while it's also now being implemented in the operation, where you can just use it to coordinate and push forward the work of a team without the team working on a software or on an application. But the reason why we want to keep it simple, now look at its application in the widest use, which is in the mobile app development or application interface development, whatsoever you might want it to be. So a Scrum Master normally facilitate a team of developer building a product. A Scrum Master facilitates a team of developer building a product. Now, there are three key roles in a Scrum team, which is a product owner, a Scrum Master, and the Agile team if you work in a SAFe environment, or the developer if you work in a Scrum environment. I'm going to differentiate this so that you get a bit clear when we talk about Agile team and developers. They mean the same thing, but just that when you talk about Agile team, it's more applicable in a SAFe environment. The same thing when you talk about sprint and iteration, is the same thing. It's just based on the environment in which you are operating in. Let me start with Scrum. Now, Scrum is about working in a team as building a product in a circle of sprint. A sprint is recommended to be from a week to a maximum of 4 weeks. But many companies adopt 2-week sprint cycle. And in a 2-week sprint cycle, what do? A sprint cycle starts with planning. You plan the work that you want to execute. And when you are planning the work, what do you need in order to plan the work? You need to look at the capacity of your team. What is the capacity of your team? The capacity is in relation to the velocity. What is velocity? How many story points your team can complete. And then when a team plan, come up with what we call a sprint backlog, and a sprint goal. We're talking about a Scrum environment right now. I will talk about a SAFe environment later on, and which I'll show you where there's a difference between the SAFe and the Scrum environment. So in a sprint environment, a team plan work in a sprint planning, and the output are the sprint goal and the sprint goal and the sprint backlog, right? Now the rest of the days, which is, if a sprint is 2 weeks, it means there are 10 working days. The rest of the days, the team is running daily stand-up, or either call it daily stand-up or daily scrum, which we answer the 3 questions, right? What did you do yesterday? What will you be working on today? Do you have challenges? But to be a bit clear on the practicality, you don't come to the team and ask your team, oh, Francis, what did you do yesterday? What are you doing today? What are impediments? Now, the Scrum team by default need to know the format in which they are reporting. If they don't know the format, then you need to teach them. That's one of your roles as Scrum Master, teaching. So that when you come, you can just say, hey, Francis, do you have update for us today? I can say, yes, yesterday I was working on the the API related to our booking page, and I'm going to continue working on that today. There are no impediments. Right, so I give my update based on that format, not that you call each team member and say, oh, what did you do yesterday? What are you working on today? And do you have any challenge? No, the team understand the format. And after the daily stand-up, they have a review, which they invite the stakeholders. And the Scrum team to actually review the increment that they have bear. What do I really mean by an increment? Remember, when you're planning work, you're planning based on an increment that you can deliver. An increment simply means part of the work. It's increment because it's part of a whole. You're not building everything, but you're building just part that can be tested. An instrument means that at the end of 2 weeks, I can actually see that you are doing something that we can all see. Let's say we want to build a computer. I'm going to take that for example, and we say for the first 2 weeks, we want to build a keyboard. So at the end of 2 weeks, that keyboard is an increment because it's part of the entire computer, right? And now, after the review, which is almost the last day of the spring, the team now sit back and do a retrospective. In a retrospective, there are 3 phases. We're looking at what did we really do well as a team, appreciation. And most often, the way to look at it practically is kind of letting your team look at possible ways on how they can improve on themselves. What do we really do? We want to appreciate the team. What can we do better? And what action do we want to take? And when we do this action, we can include about 1 or 2 of those actions in the next sprint, right? So we close the circle and immediately we launch another circle. So this is Scrum environment. Now, this is the difference between a Scrum environment and a SAFe environment. A SAFe environment simply means an enterprise environment, if I can bring it into a level where you can understand, and it means there are several teams, at least 5 teams, and at most 25 teams working on the same product. There are about 5 to 25 teams working on the same product. Ideally, about 50 to 125 plus people working on the same product. Now, you understand that a Scrum environment is about a team working on a product, which means that we can have a continuous flow without a lot of so much inter-team dependency and all of that. Now, when we come to a SAFe environment is like a larger application of Scrum, right? So you have about 5 teams working on the same product. For these 5 teams to be able to collaborate, they start not with the sprint planning, they start with what they call the program increment planning. So the program increment planning brings everyone in the organization, including the CEO, the stakeholders, they work together for 2 days to come up with what we call the program objective. The program objective plan the work that the team will do for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Typically 8 to 12 weeks. for the next 4 to 6 iteration, which is typically 4 weeks to 12 weeks, right? Because in SAFe, an iteration is the replacement of the word sprint. The sprint you use in Scrum in a SAFe environment is called iteration. So if you hear someone say, we're starting our iteration today, you automatically understand, oh, this is a SAFe environment. If you hear someone talk about PI planning or program increment planning, then he's talking about a SAFe environment. SAFe simply means that you have several teams operating or collaborating on the same product. SAFe simply means SAFe, S-A-F-E. S stands for scale, A stands for agile, and the F stands for framework. So scale agile framework. And it's more like we're trying to take what we normally do at the level of teams in normal Scrum, and we are scaling it in a larger way, right? So SAFe work with what we call value stream, and the value stream is named as the Agile release train. And the Agile release train is a group of people that come together between 50 and 125 plus and plan the work that they're going to execute in the next typically 5 iteration, which is 10 weeks, or somewhere between 8 weeks and 12 weeks. So what is the difference between SAFe and Scrum? Now, the first difference you're going to see in the two environments, it's about the name. When you hear sprint, that's a Scrum environment. When you hear iteration, that is a SAFe environment. The use is just to differentiate the environment, but it actually the same thing, because if you're doing sprint planning or iteration planning, you basically go through the same process: capacity estimation and velocity, looking at what your team can come in with. If you're doing daily stand-up or daily Scrum, it's typically the same process in both SAFe and in Scrum. If you're doing sprint review, iteration review, is the same process. What's changing is just the name. Now, the addition that the SAFe environment bring in is what we call the PI planning, which is a 2 days event. Everyone in the team comes together and plan a work that they're going to complete between 8 and 12 weeks. And after every 8 and 12 weeks, they come back again to repeat that same circle. So if you follow this clearly, you realize that if you're looking at a sprint environment, if I bring two planning to you and I say determine which of this planning is a sprint and which one is which of this planning is a Scrum and which one is a SAFe, you can know that because SAFe is going to look at sprint, iteration 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. When you start looking at 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, you understand that you are in a SAFe environment. Why? Because they plan that so that after they complete their 4 to 6 iteration cycle, they come back and they plan again. But in a normal Scrum environment, you can have sprint 1, sprint 50, sprint 60, because they are building, although they're building in a circle, they're building linearly. Right? All right. So, kind of breaking myself down. Iteration or the SAFe environment, they have two bigger circles. They have one bigger circle, which is the PI planning. The PI planning is a 2 days event that happen every 8 to 12 weeks. And within that PI circle, program increment circle, they plan the work that they will execute in iteration. Now, between that 4 to 8 weeks, now they execute iteration. So you're always going to have one iteration 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, maximum 1.6. Then when they do the second PI planning, they're going to come back and they say iteration 2.1, 2.2. So if you meet a team and you see something like iteration 10.1, it means the team has done 10 PI planning. But you are not going to find this in a Scrum environment. It's just going to be sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 4, up to sprint 45, sprint 100, sprint 200, and you just know that, okay, this is a Scrum environment because they're planning in a linear way. All right. Now, I want to talk about the role of a Scrum Master in both environments. The role of a Scrum Master in a safe environment doesn't only end about coordinating work at the team level. It talks about coordinating work when they are doing the program increment. So when they're doing the program increment, is 2 days work, and then what they do is that the Agile team has 2 opportunities to plan the work that they will execute. And this is also one of the difference. The Scrum environment, the Agile team plan the work that goes into the backlog. That's the safe environment. Now, a Scrum environment, the person that planned the work can just be the PO that put a couple of items into the backlog, and then the developer pick it from there. In a safe environment, the whole Agile team plan the work into the backlog before they start planning. So you might not really understand it now if you have not actually practiced SAFe. But if you really want, if you practice in Scrum, I'm going to encourage you to get a SAFe certification. I do teach, I'm certified to also certified SAFe Scrum Master. If you want to find out on how to become a SAFe Scrum Master, you can reach out to me. I'll be able to show you exactly what to do in order to become a SAFe Scrum Master. You can take one of my classes. But then also for those who are already in the field and want to get a job, I also have a training program and a mastermind that helps you on how to build your resume, case study, and all the life in order to become a Scrum Master, in order to become a professional or a practical, or what it means to operate as a Scrum Master in a refi. So it's very, very important for you to know this difference. If not, you might embarrass yourself. I've seen a lot of people, they put in their resume SAFe Scrum Master, and they don't really understand what's the difference between Scrum Master and SAFe Scrum Master. But this was just in a bit in order to kind of explain and get you a bit more closer to what it actually takes to work in both environments. And I hope this was useful to you. And if this was, do well to click the subscribe button. And if this actually benefited you, share to someone. I know they're definitely going to benefit. And let's keep learning. Agile is the future, guys. If you are not yet getting into the Scrum and looking at the way you can implement the Scrum framework in managing work, not only in software development, even in your own daily activity, it is very practicable. I'll see you in the next video.